How is everybody doing? Happy Friday. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Mayor's NCCPC Founders Circle. We are over the moon to have the presence of at least 10 local city mayors with us today. Please note that most of you are on mute, and we highly encourage you to turn on your cameras so we can see the beautiful faces of everyone who's joined us on this Friday afternoon. Note that this event will be recorded, and we hope you'll have the chance to engage with us together in meaningful ways today. So to kick us off, it's my pleasure to introduce the Northern California College Promise Coalition Steering Committee Chair, David Silver, Director of Education for the Oakland Mayor's Office.
Welcome everyone, and I'd love it if we can, if you look at this screen, you can see that we have been able to create some incredible things together. Because of all of these cities coming together and because of these nonprofits, we've been able to make impact in ways that we would not be able to make without it. And I want to give a big shout out to all of the different people that are here, all the mayors and all of the different leaders from our teams and what we've been able to accomplish. I'm happy to share more, but I want to keep us moving. So I'm going to pass it along to our next agenda, to our mayor.
Thank you, David. For those of you who don't know, David is just been the mastermind, the energy behind our Oakland Promise. It is just great to be with colleagues today. I don't know about you, but you know, being a mayor can be really crappy sometimes. I didn't realize you were going to record this part. I kind of wish you weren't. I would be a little more honest, but we have to deal with a lot of hardship, a lot of trauma. And I can say that as mayor, nothing has given me more joy and a bigger sense of satisfaction than our Promise program. Investing in our youth, showing them that our cities care about them and their brilliance and their success is literally the best investment that we can make. And I want to say, as a mayor, I've also been really inspired by what happens when we come together. Sam Liccardo has been the inspirational leader of the Big City Mayors Coalition, and what we can get done when we lobby together, when we look at the common challenges that we face and successes that we've had, and turn those into policy change at the state level. We are an incredibly powerful force together. What we are experiencing through each and every one of our College Promise programs should be California's blueprint for success. And what we're struggling with, like the stupidness of the FAFSA program, how that process works, how it keeps the students that we should be trying to serve first and best just mired in bureaucracy and forms and torturing parents. This is an area that is absolutely ripe for reform. And who better to do it than us, than the mayors, who are so close to the people that we serve and yet have a strong advocacy voice that can change policy at the state and even the federal level. And I'm more hopeful than ever right now about what kind of change we could make at the federal level. And so I hope that each and every one of you think seriously about joining the Leadership Council, the steering committee of this organization. Oakland has, since the foundation of this coalition, been an investor at the $10,000 level. We don't actually write the check ourselves. One of our donors to the Oakland Promise has found it a very great investment to also support this coalition, because it's amplifying our success and it's actually working on policy changes that will ensure our success. So I hope that each and every one of you consider stepping up to that leadership level. And then of course, later in this gathering, we're going to have an opportunity to get some of our key funders involved. And who better to represent what I'm saying is the value of this coalition, and that is strength in numbers, than our own Golden State Warriors. So very excited to have them later on the call. But for now, I want to pass it off to my sister across the bay, Just love and want to recognize San Francisco's leadership in this movement. It was your kindergarten to college program that started the inspiration for the Oakland Promise. I love how we all challenge each other, how we borrow or maybe steal each other's ideas and take it all to the next level. London Breed, incredible mayor of San Francisco. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Shaft. And it's so great to be here with you and with our fellow mayors from across the state to talk about the work that we have to do to support our young people. We know that a college education is the best investment that we can provide to young people for a better future. But we also know that many of our students are faced with significant challenges when pursuing higher education, often making it unaffordable and unattainable. I remember when I was in college and how challenging it was, to the point where I almost dropped out and decided to work for a living so that I could afford to take care of myself. I know firsthand about these struggles, but I was lucky enough to have a community that cared for me and provided the support I needed. I worked a lot of jobs and I was fortunate enough to make it through. This is why I'm so committed to providing our students with the resources that they need. Here in San Francisco, we have tripled our funding for Free City College. It's a program that we're committed to expanding for another 10 years to ensure that San Franciscans can access higher education if they want to. We created a Bridge to Excellence scholarship program to help low-income students who are first in their families to attend college, because we want to make sure that they're able to overcome these barriers and attend college and not allow money to be an obstacle, especially when they're getting started. We launched the Kindergarten to College Savings Account program that Mayor Shaft talked about to ensure every child entering kindergarten is on a path to college from their very first day of school. Through Opportunities for All, we are providing all high school students with paid internships to help them explore different careers and provide job opportunities. We created Summer Together, the Summer Together initiative, to offer children and youth free in-person virtual learning experiences this summer to help close the learning gap brought on by this pandemic. We have seen how when we open the doors of opportunity for our young people, they go above and beyond and are truly exceptional. You know, many of you know, I grew up in public housing. Many of the people that I grew up with ended up in completely different circumstances. I've lost people to drugs, to violence, to poverty, to hopelessness, to the criminal justice system. And I shouldn't be the exception. Being mayor and coming out of those circumstances, things like this should always happen for young people in our cities and our communities. We are so grateful for the work of this organization, the work that they do to help achieve this goal in the Bay Area. Because when we all work together and pull our resources, we are able to help so many young people unlock their potential and achieve their dreams. I want to thank the many foundations that are joining us here today, including Tipping Point Foundation, the Warriors Community Foundation, and California Endowment, just to name a few. Your investments are making a difference in the lives of our children and youth every single day. I look forward to the work that each and every one of us are going to continue to do to expand the impacts of this program and continue to make sure that we're supporting generations to come. I keep going back to my childhood when thinking about the things that we need to do to help young people and to help lift them up. And part of it is, I remember, you know, as a kid when I might have been misbehaving and someone else tried to discipline me, and then I'd go run home and tell my grandmother. My grandmother would always say, that's okay, and you better listen to her, because it really does take a village. And we have to also be concerned about the well-being of not just our own children, but everyone's children. That is how we are going to work together, because it's important now more than ever that this collective effort supports and uplifts and encourage and bring children to the forefront so that they have a better future and that we create this opportunity and pathway for generations to come. Thank you all so much for having me here today.
Mayor Liccardo, thank you, Mayor Breed, for those remarks. Mayor Liccardo, did you have something that you wanted to share as the other, in addition to San Francisco and Oakland, city that has already been on board with NCCPC?
Well, my colleagues said it so well, but I just want to say it's good to be with friends and colleagues from throughout Northern California, and really want to thank Mayor Libby Shaw for her leadership and her great team, David Silver and Meredith Curry and everyone who's worked so hard to make this happen. You know, this is the most critical work we do, and Libby's put it so well. We deal with crises and really bad news every day. This is the kind of thing that it heartens me every day when I can work on what our latest iteration is of the College Promise. We call it San Jose Aspires. We've, of course, stolen good ideas from Libby in London and others as well, and we're grateful for their leadership. We've got a new iteration we're testing out involving a digital platform that we're targeting to 1,000 of our neediest students, to enable them to have both micro scholarships as well as really good information that helps them make good decisions from their very first week in high school. But I think we all recognize we've got to work together no matter what our program might be, what money we're raising for our own cities. What's really important is that we pull resources together collectively, because this issue, particularly around persistence, is a critical one. We're all doing a lot of things, I know, in our own cities to try to help young people get to college and help particularly our young people from low-income families to overcome the enormous barriers. But enabling them to be able to thrive in college is really critical. And I've learned a lot already in this very brief meeting. I learned, for example, from the chat that Libby dropped out of school. I had no idea. Obviously, it didn't hurt her. Got through law school and on to a couple of good jobs after that. But I think it illustrates well, particularly as we think about Mayor Breed's life experiences. This is what we're doing it for, right? We want to do it for the leaders of the next generation, and we have a great opportunity to have a huge impact. So thanks to everyone for pulling together.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Liccardo. I did want to also recognize, before we move on, and just to address the violence and hate against the AAPI community and Asians across the Bay Area and across California, across the nation. Just wanted to share our condolences and support, and just hold that and acknowledge that that's happening in the context of what we're doing today. As we also move on I also wanted to thank not only Mayor Liccardo, Mayor Breed, and Mayor Schaaf, but also other mayors who are here. Mayor Ashcroft of Alameda, Mayor Arreguin of Berkeley, Mayor May of Fremont, Mayor Halliday of Hayward, Mayor Butt of Richmond, Mayor Steinberg of Sacramento, Mayor Cutter of San Leandro, and Mayor Gilmore of Santa Clara. And also, we do have some advisory board members that are on board with us as well, and want to thank them. We have UC Office of the President Drake, that is one of our advisory board members, and representatives from their office as well, Sandra. And then we also have California College, from the California Community Colleges, Eloy Oakley, and representatives from their office, David O'Brien as well. And Michael Tubbs, I know you all know him. I'm not sure if he's here or not on here, but he's accepted and will be joining us as well, since he helped launch this thing. So going on, I'm going to go very fast so that we can get back to the mayor and have some discussion and move forward. So progress, we're just going to go over our progress, share the vision, and then our goal is to have you think about how you want to get involved. So as we go forward here, reminder that we have 2 to 2:30 just with the mayors. So this is your time just to be as direct and honest around everything as we go forward. 2:30, we're going to inspire. We're going to welcome in the people that Mayor Breed talked about, Tipping Point, California Endowment, and others, the Warriors, et cetera, and to try to get them to invest and inspired as well. And then we'll have questions at 3 o'clock, and many of you will drop off at that time as well. If we move forward, I think the mayor said it best, as well as Mayor Breed and Liccardo. We can change the trajectory of thousands of people if we actually do this together. I think the challenge, you all know it, you experience it day in and day out, but the fact is we have hundreds of thousands of kids in low-income neighborhoods that are really suffering, and are, especially during this pandemic. And I want to focus on the bottom, that this pandemic has actually led to a decrease in FAFSA, a decrease in the Dream App applications, as well as the fact that over close to half of our students are working 20 hours a week or more. So what have we done? Basically, we said, what would it be like if instead of us working in silos, we took the lead from the 13 big city mayors and the National League of Cities and other organizations that you're all focused on as cities and mayors, and said, could we focus on 4 areas: policy, partnership, workforce, and sharing best practices? And could we actually get policy approved more likely if we come together, get partnerships from universities more likely if we come together, and get better job opportunities and intern opportunities with companies if we come together? And the answer is we can, and we have, and we're going to show that results now. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Mayor, who has done an incredible job and is chairing and is the leader of NCCPC, to talk about what we've done thus far, what we can do together if you invest and join on with us for phase 2, and what we can do going forward to make this built to last well beyond all of our terms. Mayor?
Thank you so much, David. It's been such an honor to work with you and the members of the coalition. When I joined in July 2020, I was so overjoyed that this coalition existed. And David, our steering committee, our members have already accomplished so much. I had the opportunity to leverage that momentum to launch us into our first phase of programming. So as you'll see on our slide, what we're most proud of in phase 1 is growing our membership to serve over 47,000 students across 19 member organizations and advocates. Together, we have sponsored 1 bill. We started this process last year, brought it back this year. We finalized 2 campus and system partnerships, which I'll talk about more in a moment. And we formed 2 workforce partnerships. And this is all to bring resources directly to our students, to ensure that we're filling gaps in the resources that they, in what they do and do not have in order to get to and through college and into gainful employment. So our goals for phase 2 is really to launch and scale those efforts, to be able to grow to serve up to 100,000 students by 2023, really lifting up our policy work and the voices of our students and what we're learning on the ground serve students in terms of college access, affordability, and persistence, with up to 3 bills and forming up to 20 total partnerships combined with campuses, employers. And to really see this vision sustain, a sustained network would take us all the way through 2025, serving upwards of 200,000 students across our 12 counties, deeper within our cities, implementing a 3-year policy strategic plan, partnering with up to 20 community colleges, UCs, Cal States, and HBCUs, and partnering with up to 20 more employers to really open up access to jobs that really meet our students' needs to lift them up out of poverty. And as we scale, we plan to serve more students with deeper partnerships that get them to college through graduation and into well-paying jobs. So drilling down just a bit into our impact with students, our members again collectively touch the lives of 47,000 high school and college students, most of whom are Pell eligible, low-income students of color. They support these students with scholarships, free college, advising, and mentorship. We've hosted student-facing events over the last year with partners, Management Leadership for Tomorrow, a national nonprofit focused on workforce development for students of color, and the American Association of University Women, supporting our students with career exploration and salary negotiation. And we're on track to support at least 1,000 college students with our campus partnerships, both with local campuses like our new partner, Cal State East Bay, through the leadership of then President Leroy Morisha, and with systems of higher ed like our partnership with the UC Office of the President. You'll get to hear from our advisory council member, Sandra, at the UC in a bit. We also support the field, the organizations who are doing this important work within and across your cities, who then send students off to colleges who may end up in your cities, even if they didn't start out there. So through policy and advocacy, we aim to protect up at least $26 million in terms of the scholarships and free college that our members distribute annually, and the financial aid packages of over 900,000 anticipated Pell Grant eligible students. And we hope more than the 3,800 California DREAM Act applicants as of last month who expect to start or continue school this fall. Our work, the resources we share, and the events we put on for students and educators are accessible across our footprint of all 12 counties, which are the 9 Bay Area counties, Sacramento, San Joaquin, and Tulare. So to inform the conversation David's going to facilitate in a minute, this is a snapshot of what we're hoping to achieve by scaling and growing our organization in 2021. We want to set us up to be able to serve 100,000 plus students across our counties and deepen the work in our cities. We'll increase the number of college students supported by our campus partnerships by increasing the number of partnerships from 2 to 10, and we're already in discussions with 4 UCs. We'll improve our students' college completion and workforce outcomes by partnering with more employers, providing more events that leverage our collective access to all of our students, aiming to increase our partnerships, again, with employers from 2 to 10. And you'll hear from one of our newest partners if you stay with us until 3 p.m. today. So with that context about NCCPC and the vision for our growth next year and beyond, I'll turn it back over to David and Mayor Schaaf for a discussion.
You could pass. Thank you. So I think that the last things that we wanted to say is, why should you partner with NCCPC? And one of the reasons that we want to do this is because your cities can get more targeted resources. Your city could be highlighted as a part of the movement, and you could have an opportunity to drive the strategic direction and impact that we have. And before we go on with our how you can get involved, I wanted the mayor to be able to facilitate, if we could think out of the box, how could we work together to maximize our impact? Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, this is really supposed to be an open and honest conversation with mayors. I recognize Sam Liccardo's leadership. I should also recognize his predecessor, Darrell Steinberg, who really kind of pushed us as mayors to recognize the power of our lobbying muscle. And so we do have a piece of pending legislation this year, which would allow the scholarship dollars that we award through our Promise programs to not take away from other state financial aid that's granted. I think that's a really important piece of legislation. But what are the other possibilities that you see? Obviously, funding is always a need, but what are some of the policy changes that we should band together to push for? What are you seeing the needs are in your city with your students? And we're a small enough group. I mean, just unmute yourself and jump in. Let's start right now for just the mayors. I know there's a lot of staff on the line too, and you all are going to be on for a little longer than we are. But you know, Sam, Darrell,
Libby,
go.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Hi. First of all, thank you for including me, and thank you for your leadership on these really important set of issues. I loved your introduction about, and Sam saying the same about, as mayors, how the promise and what is embedded within the idea of a promise is central to our success as mayors, because it's building. It's building an inclusive economy. It's addressing equity. It is focusing on the foundation for the future of the cities that we lead and love. My question would be, I guess, or discussion would be, what is the status in the, because I've lost a little bit of track since my days there of the whole career pathways movement. When I was there, I was fortunate to lead what was called the Career Pathways Trust. We put $1 billion or more into developing pathways for high school students, where every student, the aspiration was every student would have a paid work experience relevant to their career interests, and that their academic curriculum would be tailored to be more relevant to that career pathway. And I know that there were some very promising, no pun intended, very promising investments made to elevate these career pathways. But what is the real status today? And is that an area of worthy attention and investment?
Mayor, why don't you talk about your efforts to date? But you know, of the 3 areas that I think this coalition wants to focus on, that workforce connection is one of them. So, Mayor, what are you doing to date, and what are some of the possibilities that you see with the issues that the mayor's raised? We got to stop calling you mayor, because we got 10 people that answered to the name.
And Mayor, I know,
call you Meredith.
And Mayor, Meredith, I know we do have some of our steering committee members on, so if you want to invite them into that discussion, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. So I would like to open up the floor to any of our steering committee members that are on. I see Oakland Thomas, Making Waves, If anybody wants to respond to the types of workforce programming that we're looking into, I will say that from the coalition standpoint, we are our partnership with Management Leadership for Tomorrow. The intention of that, let me change spotlight. The intention of that is to open up more opportunities for students in the Bay Area with over 100 different workforce partners across the country, including companies that are here right in the Bay Area, like Salesforce and Facebook. So that's one opportunity to get our students access to programming where they get direct career coaching, as well as the scaffolding to start to prepare for internships and jobs. And then again, towards the next half hour of this program, we're going to have one of our workforce partners talk about how we are expanding we're creating an event series that will allow students from multiple counties to access opportunities for internships and jobs at the intersections of retail, design, business, and technology. But beyond that, I did want to see if any of our other steering committee members had a response. And go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself. I am looking to see if you're muted.
And I'm from Elizabeth Devaney, and I'm from Students Rising Above. And we partner with over 250 corporations and businesses here in the Bay Area to provide internships for our students to have productive summers every year between their college academic years. And what we found is that taking a pragmatic view to how much these corporations and businesses need our students in the workforce, they need a pipeline established to really tap into this hidden supply of students who have amazing talents and resources and can be the next generation of diverse leaders. We feel that the corporations that we're working with don't see us as people to whom they are doing a favor, but rather see us as an important part of the local economy. And we're intending to really maximize that going forward to make a synergistic partnership with more and more corporations here in the Bay Area.
Great. Well, I know we are about to enter the section with the funders, as well as we also are going to be recognizing some of our steering committee members and organizations in a few moments. So, Mayor, I'm going to pass it back to you and also to the way that people can get involved here. And Mayor, if you can put back the screen, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And then go ahead and share my screen again. Can you all see the slide?
Great. Mayor, do you want to take a crack at this, or would you like me to? Mayor Schaaf, sorry.
I was just sending you a text. Please call her Meredith because it's totally confusing me. I'm sorry. I think I think to Daryl's point, though, something like having some centralized relationships with employers. I put it in the chat. Do people like controlling their own relationships, or would having some centralized access to some of these large regional employers? I think that's a great idea, and that is definitely within the capacity of this coalition. But that capacity is only going to exist to the extent that we support the coalition. And we are asking people to step up to join the steering committee. And our soft ask to you is a give or get commitment of $10,000. Many of us got a lot of money from the federal government recently, so hopefully that's making things a little less tight.
Libby, you just persuaded me. I'm in.
All right, thank you, Sam. Anyone else want to spontaneously agree?
I'll try to get the money. So yes, I just got to check a box or two. Yes.
Great, thank you. And it's give or get. So you could also ask a friend.
And you know, the mayors, we got each other's back, Mayor. Well, Libby. So count San Francisco in too.
Thank you so much.
Can you send us information that we can convey to our city managers? Because I think that,
yes.
I can't commit, but I mean, I will recommend, but yes, you know, I think, is there a possibility of having a more in-depth discussion?
Absolutely. Yes, we will send you stuff right after this and also invite you if you want to have a one-on-one or meet with whoever.
Yeah, Barbara, that's a great suggestion to actually put the request formally in writing and then also offer a follow-up meeting.
Great,
So,
thanks.
and I know, David, you're always good at moving us along on our agenda, but just quickly before we move to the next piece, any other quick suggestions from the mayors? If you don't wish to be on the steering committee, the other opportunity is the advisory committee. We really want your good ideas, your partnership, strength in numbers. We know that that's what creates championships. So that's what we hope that you all will do, as well as lend your kind of feet as we lobby our legislators and just show our unity for our children. So thank you. I don't know if Marilyn, did you get a chance? It says you want to be unmuted. Marilyn Ashcraft, Mayor of Alameda.
There I am. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you all, Lily. I see Lily May, but I meant to say Libby. Hi, Lily. Thank you for inviting us today. This is really exciting. Yeah, along with what Barbara Halliday of Hayward said, I have to get the authorizations and all that, but Alameda's in. Mia Bonta happens to literally be my neighbor, so you know that this is going to happen. No, I love this idea, and this is just, this is the time to do these things. I think that this is, the year we've come through has been such a time of reckoning for us on so many different levels. And when we have the opportunity to do something so positive like this, Libby is absolutely right. Mayors deal with problems big and small 24/7. So when we have a chance to be part of the solution, we should just go for it. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity and count us in.
Thank you, Marilyn. And Lily May, I know you're here not just as the mayor of Fremont, but in a very important leadership role as the head of the education committee for the League of Cities. Lily, did you want to share something?
Sure. I just wanted to say that I'm always excited to hear about this. Right now we had a meeting just last week for National League of Cities with some of the mayors, Task Force on Education, and we had the opportunity to speak with the new Secretary of Education, Cardona, and to talk about this issue. I was going to try to convince you that you need to round up, instead of the top 13 cities, pull the top 15. I still feel very strongly about that, especially since the good thing or bad thing is I do regularly talk to a lot of my employers. I visit about 60 of our corporations, and being that we have 900 manufacturers, this has proven to be advantageous for us in this time period. I know many of us had to go through shutdowns of a lot of our businesses, but as you realize, as you look at all the Amazon boxes that are out there and all the deliveries, we've had to ramp up our manufacturing. We have 115 biomedical manufacturers. And certainly I'm involved with AAUW. I also was the former past chair for the Asian school board members for that efforts. But on this area, I'd also hope that when we look at this, and it's funny that we talked earlier about AAPIs, but also I think that at times there's also a concern for me that there's a model minority myth. And so as a city that's heavily Asian, it doesn't mean that everyone's doing well in our city. We have the largest East Asian Indian population. We have the large South Pacific Islander, Chinese, of course, and then we also have the largest Afghan population outside of Afghanistan. So I'm hoping that when we look at these efforts that we consider those as being important, because having been involved informally in technology myself, I think there are a lot of Asians involved in the workforce, but there is without a doubt fundamentally a bamboo ceiling. And you'll see a lot of executives in certain roles, but that's because that's their company, not because that they've been promoted from within. So where there is an opportunity, I absolutely think it's important for us. And that's why we're very proud, and I'd love to share if anyone's interested. We actually launched just a few weeks ago a partnership with Ohlone College, an Earn and Learn program, where it starts off at $18 an hour. And we partnered with the Smart Manufacturing certificated program. So after 8 to 10 weeks, they're able to make $26 to $28 an hour. And I'm really pleased to be able to work with them. We also have a lot of Introduce a Girl to Engineering days. We have SWE, which I'm very proud of, was a great initiative in terms of Society of Women Engineers. And so I would love to work with all of you and your corporations and throughout the region and ensuring that we're able to build the pipeline. I think that's critical for us because the definition of work and the types of jobs that are coming out are really in flux at this period of time. And so I think that we have an opportunity to be able to create that workforce and to provide the skill sets and also the upskilling for veterans, for women returning to work, and so many others at this time to ensure that we are able to satisfy the needs for our communities.
Lily, thank you so much. It is a great reminder that not only do we have 10 incredible mayors in this Zoom room right now, but you all hold other leadership positions, regionally, statewide, and nationally, to bring that expertise, to bring those networks, to bring the unique successes that each city has had, to share the best practices, and to provide access to some of our largest employers that have the capacity to do regional internships or hiring. This is what excites me so much about the potential power of this coalition. I know right now we're welcoming in our funding partners. We are so excited to have you join. We just were finishing up a robust mayoral conversation about all the possibilities and promise, pun fully intended, of this coalition. I really want to thank the 10 mayors who are incredibly busy for making time today, and then also just appreciate the funders to date that have made this coalition possible. When we band together, we can leverage the power of the investments in each of our individual promise programs. We can secure centralized funding from the state. We can break down the barriers that are there because of policy when we work together. So this is a great way to leverage your investment in each of our promise programs, amplify it, spread it, and make it go a lot further. I want to give the floor now over to our 3 co-hosts from the funding community. We're going to be hearing from someone I just like, he walks on water as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Tony Eiton, the Senior VP of Healthy Communities at the California Endowment. We're then going to hear from Tony Emerson Zatina, the Senior Program Officer of the Tipping Point Foundation. Just incredible work that you all do every year. And then, of course, we all love those Golden State Warriors, although maybe, you know, Daryl, and you've got a different team up there. We'll forgive you for that. Anyway, Brandon Schneider, board member of the Warriors Community Foundation, is also with us today. Dr. Eiton, please inspire us with your words.
Good God, Mayor Schaaf, you always put me on the spot like this. Actually, I kind of love it. So, hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It sounds like you're coming off a great conversation. I'm Tony Eiton from the California Endowment. Hi, Marilyn. Actually, you're one of my neighbors, too. We have one of your lawn signs in front of our house. I work for a health foundation. And, one of the things that people are always a little bit confused by is why is a health foundation so committed to this kind of work? And I will tell you something. We spent over $1 billion over the past 10 years trying to improve the health status of Californians across the state. And we learned that there are some myths about health. Health is actually not generated by healthcare. It is not controlled by genetics, and it's not shaped primarily by behaviors. Those are 3 myths that exist in the world about what is health. Health is, in fact, a beautiful combination of hope and opportunity. And the biggest strand of opportunity that this state, and quite frankly, across the United States, has an opportunity to enhance is education. And it's not just, strictly education, it's about educational pathways. People have to see a way from where they are to where they want to be. And that's what I love about this particular effort. And, it's hard to say no to Mayor Libby Schaaf. It's hard to say no to David Silver because they're just super charming people. but they're also super committed to one major determinant of health, education, that is absolutely critical. It is absolutely critical. So what we love about this particular collection of activities and groupings of people is the fact that it is a coalition. It's about people coming together that are similarly situated to find common strategies and solutions to problems that are ultimately solvable. So we love the fact we work all across the state. So we're in Stockton, we're in San Jose, we're in Los Angeles, we're in a variety, Sacramento, and of course in Oakland, San Francisco. And so when you see these same patterns across so many different places, and you recognize that if we could only bring people together to work together to leverage their shared resources, experience, and brilliance, we can solve these problems. They are solvable. So we're in for this, and we have invited our friends in for this. We will continue to invite our friends in for this. And anything that we can do to continue to support this great creative collaborative work, we will stand behind. So let me turn it back to you, Mayor Schaaf, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's always great to see you. We're now going to turn it over to the other Tony Emerson Satina from Tipping Point.
Yeah, great. And sorry about that. I had someone come to the door. I think one of the realities of life in the time of COVID is people come to the door and you have to go get the stuff. So apologies. But anyway, thank you, Tony. I don't think we met before, but I really appreciate your words. And I'm a huge fan of the endowment. I'm, again, Senior Program Officer of Education at Tipping Point Community. And I'm very excited to share why we're so energized by this effort. I also wanted to just mention my CEO, Sam Cobbs, is taking a much deserved day off today. And so sends his best and wanted to make sure that Tipping Point was able to still be here and share our support. So I just wanted to say a few words about why. First, we believe in NCCPC's mission and in Meredith's leadership in launching the Founders Circle in particular. We have every confidence that with her at the helm, this effort will only increase in size and scope. Moreover, we think that the focus on BIPOC-led organizations, research-backed practices, and collaboration across cities is a great recipe for equitable systemic change for post-secondary success for our students who are furthest from opportunity. Therefore, we wanted to help share this effort with those who can help sustain and expand this work. I'm thinking specifically of my peer funders on the call. Some of you I helped to get here today. I'd love to follow up with you. But we hope that you'll support it alongside us, whether that's through direct investment, through joining the advisory council, or connecting Meredith and her partners to other potential supporters. So lastly, I guess I would just quickly say thanks to David and Meredith for creating this amazing platform. And thanks to all the mayors. I should give a special shout out to my mayor, you, Mayor Schaaf. I live here in Oakland, one of the greatest, if not the greatest city in the Bay, but we need not have that argument right now, although we would win. And thanks so much for everybody joining to really explore and advance this collaboration.
Oh, let's just be clear, I'm a regionalist. We all have to do this together. And last, of course, Brandon from our beloved Warriors Foundation. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Meredith to do the rest of the conversation. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Schaaf. Thanks for having us here today. We believed it was critical for the Warriors Community Foundation to be part of this initiative. It's a priority for us because it aligns with our values, and we believe in the vision of the Northern California College Promise Coalition. The Warriors Community Foundation launched in 2012, thanks to the vision of the president of our board, Nicole Lacob, who is with us today. Nicole was a teacher, and her passion for education and helping others led to our mission, which is to support educational equity and youth development to promote thriving students, schools, and communities in the Bay Area. We support upwards of 50 local nonprofits annually, and our goal is really to help children all the way from cradle to career. I also wanted to acknowledge another one of our board members, Molly Lacob, who's on the call today. Molly's on our grants committee and is focused on her twins right now, I think, her twin boys who are less than a year, but also focused on our nonprofit partners that support college access. The Warriors Community Foundation is proud to be supporters of the NCCPC alongside great organizations such as the California Endowment, Tipping Point Foundation, and so many others. We believe in what the NCCPC stands for, and specifically how they bring the right people across the ecosystem together in pursuit of educational equity by sharing best practices and solving shared challenges to increase access to workforce opportunities our BIPOC students deserve and need to thrive. We're excited about NCCPC's ability and opportunity to engage youth-serving nonprofits, many of which are Warriors Community Foundation grantees, and educators across all 9 Bay Area counties, and as well as across the state. We are hoping that you will join us in supporting this important organization and leveraging our collective impact to touch cities across Northern California, whether it be with a direct investment as an NCCPC Advisory Council member and or in connection to other potential partners that could help scale and sustain this worthy effort. A wise woman said recently, strength in numbers. I don't know where you got that, Mayor Schaaf, but I agree wholeheartedly. Thanks again for including us in this great initiative, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the program today.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you, Tony from the California Endowment. Thank you, Tony from the Tipping Point, Brandon from the Warriors Community Foundation. It is such a big deal for us to have all of these incredible mayors and foundations here with us, and we're just so appreciative. I do want to make sure that everybody has a chance to know who is behind the coalition, because the coalition are our steering committee of incredible organizations who've been committed since day one, as well as champion organizations who are involved. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to David to start us off with an introduction to our steering committee.
Yes, so thank you. So if you look here, this, while obviously the mayors and the funding partners are key, the reality is the people who are on the ground actually building out these policies and doing these partnerships and executing this are the actual steering committee members. So I wanted to recognize them right. So first, leading out our policy committee is Mia Banta from Oakland Promise, who is a part of our steering committee. Mia, if you're there, feel free to put your hand up when we come back here in a moment. We also have from Stockton Scholars, we have Janae, as well as Lang, as well as Nick. I think you all have like so many different people there. And they also lead out our partnership committee. We also have Spade Walton, who is also a chair of our policy committee. We also have we have 10,000 Degrees, Students Rising Above, the City of San Francisco, Making Waves, Scholar Match. I'm going to just name some of the people here, and then Mayor, if you can also chime in as well with those that I miss. We have specifically Jenny Lamb and Aaliyah Christie from San Francisco, Candace from San Jose. We have Cynthia Ramirez from Richmond Promise. We also have here today with us Melissa from our, we have Melissa as well as Elizabeth Jordan Dorsey, but why don't you take a crack at sharing all of the other organizations, Mayor, so we can recognize them.
Absolutely. And yes, thanks for joining us, Elizabeth, with Students Rising Above. And I believe we have several colleagues from Scholar Match, and I will definitely identify you in just a moment. But I just wanted to say also thank you to our champions who are here with us. So San Jose Aspires, Mayor Liccardo's office, the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. We have Neon. Thank you to the Foundation for College Education. I believe we have Josue on, oops, apologies. And we also have a West Sacramento Promise. I believe Justine has joined us. And thank you to the Peninsula College Fund for joining us as well. And then we did mention Spada Viveros Walton, who's the co-chair of our policy committee. We also have Lorna Contreras Townsend, who's the co-chair of our workforce committee, and Dr. Christopher Nellam, who is on our policy committee. And so you're getting a sense. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I missed also, we have Patrice Berry from the city of Oakland, as well as Samra from Oakland Promise. We also have Jesse Stewart, our ED, who is on maternity leave, but has helped to start this as well, and anyone else that I missed. So we're just so excited to have all of our members here. And as we're talking about the coalition, know that it's these organizations, it's these leaders who are doing that critical work. who are often convening multiple times a month in order to advance the various goals and progress that we've made. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen for a moment. And I think that the next stage of our event should be to go ahead and introduce our advisory council members to you. If you could just give me one moment so we can have a few words from our advisory council. Earlier we mentioned join our steering committee. You just had a chance to meet them. We also mentioned join our advisory council. So this is that opportunity. And I'd like to go ahead and start us off first by introducing, we have Sandra Williams-Hamp of the UC Office of the President. Sandra is an incredible leader with over 25 years of experience in education. She serves as the Executive Director of Strategic Partnerships and Community Engagement at the University of California Office of the President and oversees UC's system-wide outreach efforts and strategic partnerships to support the university's mission of inclusiveness excellence. I'll turn it over to you, Sandra.
Thanks so much. It is a pleasure to be here, and I want to bring greetings on behalf of our president, Dr. Michael Drake. And the University of California is so proud to be a part of this partnership and coalition. This work is so critical to the work that needs to happen on behalf of our students. Now more than ever, our ability to collectively come together to increase opportunity for our state and nation are critical. This partnership really enables the University of California to partner with other key stakeholders to really support the work to expand access for students. And this is the work that must be done, and we're excited about the coalition and this work. Through the partnership, we hope that more students from promise schools are able to pursue their passions at the university and other institutions and really serve as leaders in our state and nation. And we know that when students have more access to opportunity and we're able to eliminate barriers, that we can change students' trajectory and communities. So again, on behalf of the University of California, we are so excited to be a part of this coalition and the work that must be done. And as the Mayor Schaaf said, and the work of David Silver, this is a time when we must lean in for our communities. So we're excited to be here and be a part of this important work.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And I'd like to now introduce our next advisory council member. We are joined by David O'Brien, Vice Chancellor of Government Relations for the California Community College Chancellor's Office. David and Chancellor Eloy Ortiz join us on the advisory council. David O'Brien has served as the Vice Chancellor for Government Relations for the California Community Colleges since April 2020. And he oversees a division responsible specifically for formulating and advancing the legislative agendas of the California Community Colleges and represents the office before the legislator. I'd like to go ahead and turn it over now to you, David.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really exciting to be here. And on behalf of Chancellor Oakley and the 116 California community colleges and the 2.1 million students we are privileged to serve, I want to thank you all so much for the work you do. I want to thank the coalition and the great local government leaders we have here today. I have to admit to just being a little bit conflicted because I am a Bay Area native and so excited to see so many great Bay Area leaders. But of course, I've lived and worked in Sacramento for over a decade now. And so especially pleased to see Mayor Steinberg's support here as a fan of both the Warriors and the Kings personally. Chancellor Eloy Ortiz Oakley, who I think most of you on the call are familiar with, you probably are aware, is from Southern California. But this is an issue that's very near and dear to his heart. As President and Superintendent of the Long Beach Community College District for many years, Chancellor Oakley was a major leader in the efforts to launch the Long Beach College Promise and is a strong supporter and a strong believer in the importance of partnerships. And that is so much at the core of what this coalition is doing, is creating those partnerships. We all serve the same students. I can tell you for a fact that on a personal note, my wife, who's just wrapping up a day of teaching third graders a few blocks from us here in West Sacramento, many of those students are going to grow up and hear about the West Sacramento College Promise. And when they get that high school diploma, when they graduate from high school here and they get that note with their high school diploma that says, congratulations, you've been admitted to Sacramento City College and you can attend for 2 years tuition free thanks to the West Sacramento College Promise. The power of that messaging for the type of students that we serve in our communities, we believe in, because we know that when we talk about creating a college-going culture, that's what that means, is helping students believe in themselves, providing the supports so that they can believe in themselves and that they are empowered. And so we are so pleased to work with the coalition, with all of you as regional and local leaders on not just legislative and policy efforts, but on efforts to empower our students really to believe that they can attend in and succeed and thrive in college. I'm happy to be here. Thank you again, Mayor.
Thank you so much to you, David, and thank you to Chancellor Oakley. I'd now like to introduce Lorna Contreras-Townsend, Senior Manager of Workforce Diversity, Equality, and Belonging at GAP, to share GAP's interest in workforce partnerships in our community.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone on this call. I would consider myself a product of the hard work that all of these programs have put in for the last 20 plus years in these communities. So it's amazing to see this all come together and to see such a huge impact behind the work that we all put in daily. So thank you. I am here with GAP Inc., but spent 10 years of my life at Students Rising Above, which is one of the steering committee organizations that's part of NCCPC. I am also here in company with my business partners, Arish Hack, Alex Randolph, and Catherine Schartz. Thank you so much for being here with us today as well. And we are super excited to officially announce with all of you here that we will be launching a retail career fair in partnership with NCCPC this fall to make sure that our students have access to opportunities within GAP Inc. and other retailers within the space that we play. So thank you all again for your commitment, and we're excited to work together, and we hope that many more of you will join us.
Thank you, Lorna. And I wanted to just say, I know some of the mayors do need to get off at 3. So most of you have spoken, but if there is any mayor that wants to just share anything on their reflections that hasn't had a chance to speak, we wanted to give you that opportunity before we dive into the rest of the slides and have the final discussion.
I'm Lisa Gilmore from Santa Clara, and I just wanted to say this sounds really exciting, and I want to put it forward to our community here in Santa Clara. We're a very diverse community, and we have lots of different types of assets here, but we have so many students in need and in need of education. So I really am so excited to get involved. I just need a little approval for the money, but that's a minor detail. So anyways, thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share? All right, well then I think we're going to dive into the next section. Thank you, Meredith. So at this point, we wanted to just put out there in terms of these are things that you can do if you are a part of the funding community that would to be able to support us as we go forward. And Mayor, we'll share this, but then I know we wanted to go through a couple of slides as well to be able to see if others have any thoughts as well. But at a high level, we wanted to know if you want to get involved with us. Right now, we are helping to try to solve a $100,000 gap so that we can launch in 21-22. That gap is going down by the minute as each mayor is coming on board with their $10,000 commitment. So thank you so much. And then really we're looking to the funding community also to think about how we could partner together with state legislation, with our cities to be able to serve our kids throughout all the way through 2024. And there's different ways that you can get involved. And those are on the screen right there that you can take a look at, whether it's helping us initially right now for our next year's commitment and or becoming an annual partner or connecting us with others, or we're happy to continue the discussion. But before we do, Mayor, I know we had some other slides. So I want to make sure the funding community knows kind of what we've accomplished as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Let me go ahead and just reset things for a moment, if you all wouldn't mind. And I just went ahead and posted into the chat that for anyone who does need to drop off, we completely understand. We posted an exit ticket in the chat and we'll send it as a follow-up as well. We'll also make sure to send a copy of the recording and the deck as follow-up. In terms of just getting to know, for those who've just joined us in the last few minutes, who the Northern California College Promise Coalition is, are you able to see this graphic? Okay, great. Again, the coalition is a network of 19 different organizations and advocates who focus in 4 key areas: policy, so we can get at the systemic issues that we can't solve on the ground when we're doing the day-to-day work with students. Examples of that are the bill that we're sponsoring, AB 288, the California ban on scholarship displacement. We also do this through campus partnerships, which I'll talk about more in a moment. Workforce partnerships. Thank you for Lorna for providing a fantastic example of one way that employers can get involved with this coalition and all of the students that are served by our members. And then communities of practice, with this mayor's circle being another great example of bringing folks from different counties and different seats to one table. And then in terms of the impact to date with policy, again, just riffing off of what Mayor Schaaf shared earlier, there's so much more that we can do together in terms of policy and the advocacy, both in terms of lifting up the realities of our students' stories, which only our members and those who are doing the day-to-day work of advising students can bring up and to the surface, as well as our organizations who are tracking in real time the trends that they're seeing and what's helping students and what's not. And for policy, again, we're supporting with AB 288, the California ban on scholarship displacement in partnership with Assemblymember Rob Bonta. We're also looking at FAFSA simplification and modernization, tracking that very closely. And we're also interested in state and federal policies that improve college affordability and financial aid for all students, but most specifically those in most need who are low income and students of color.
Mayor, if I could too, we do have our policy chairs on the call here, steering committee members, Mia Bonta, as well as Spade Walton. Mia or Spade, do you want to share it all in terms of what we're doing in terms of AB 288 or any other policy opportunities that we're pursuing right now?
Why don't you go ahead, Spade?
I don't know if you're on the call, Spade, still, or could share.
Maybe she's not. Was that you, Spade? I'll just, not seeing her, just share that we as a policy committee were really able to track some of the trends that we were that our students were experiencing across Northern California, and this is our second try at really ensuring that every single scholarship dollar that the various Promise programs and college access programs provide ensure that they can go towards cost of attendance for each student. So it's been a labor of love, and I think has the potential to make an incredible difference in terms of college affordability for our students here in Northern California.
Thank you, Mia. One other thing too, and if you want to, feel free, Patrice, to chime in here. I know we're also looking at FAFSA in terms of looking at being able to reform the FAFSA and to make it easier and simpler. That's one of our priorities as we go forward. Patrice, if you want to share anything about that, feel free. Otherwise, we'll go on to the next slide.
No, just really excited about all of the progress made so far and hope to leverage the momentum already built to do even more, especially for California students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mia. And then in terms of our impact to date with campus partnerships, we're excited about our first confirmed partnership with Cal State East Bay as a campus and the UC Office of the President as a system. Without these campus partnerships, low-income students of color that already have a hard time making it to college without support are going to have increased challenges navigating college without support through a warm handoff from the College Promise programs and access programs they're in to the colleges that they're enrolled. So with campus partnerships, we're excited about the pending ones we have in the queue with several UCs, including Berkeley, Davis, Santa Cruz, and Merced. With our partnerships, we can share data that helps us to serve the same students with coordinated resources, both on and on campus, to make sure that they don't drop off. And we're super excited to pilot this with members Oakland Promise, Richmond Promise, Stockton Scholars, San Jose Aspires, and the Silicon Valley Education Foundation. Together, campuses and College Promise and Access programs can support our students more holistically and comprehensively when we're able to share data and collaborate around the same students. And just wanted to pause and see if we had any of our campus partnership co-chairs. We have Cynthia Ramirez-Para, who is with Richmond Promise, as well as Janae Apteker, who is with Stockton Scholars. If either of you would like to share your thoughts.
Sure, I'll just be quick. It has been incredible to be a part of NCCPC and to especially benefit from the partnerships committee. I think it's very important that we're building a space of belonging for our students on campus, particularly during this time of COVID and where enrollment is declining. So this is helping solidify those pipelines and also creating opportunities for our students on campus. So this has just been incredible to be a part of this work.
Great. Thank you, Janae.
Thank you, Janae. All right, and then we'll go to impact to date with workforce. So I mentioned earlier that one of our first partner was Management Leadership for Tomorrow. I'm glad we have the announcement of our partnership also with GAP, so they'll be on the next slide next time. But regarding workforce, we're able to ensure that students have access to programs outside of what they might be able to get, complementing what they might be able to get at their college campuses, as well as with programs. And also, like our member organizations are lean, they're doing fantastic work with the resources they have, and the ability for this coalition to develop more partnerships with employers to really have access to all of the students across our coalition seems to be a win-win across the board. So we're super excited because without that, otherwise students are gonna have to work 20 hours a week to go to college, not getting experience that's actually close to what they're trying to do when they graduate from college, which also just changes their outcomes when they graduate from college in terms of their ability to get gainful employment in the industries they're interested in. So just wanted to pause and see if our co-chairs, Lorna from GAP, as well as Courtney from Making Waves would like to say a few words about the partnership.
I'm happy to if Courtney's not on. Mayor Libby Schaaf, I'm latching onto something that you said of centralizing internships for our students and the youth throughout Northern California. And I think that's exactly the purpose of the coalition, is how we mobilize these individual organizations for greater impact at a much higher level. So we hope to continue that work, expand it outside of Gap Inc. and our family of brands into other workforce partnerships as we continue to develop over the next few years.
Thank you so much, Lorna. And any other comments? Let me see, anyone else in the workforce? Okay, let's keep it moving. So then next we have, and last in terms of our 4 key bodies of work, is communities of practice. And essentially the ability to convene each other across cities, across counties, sharing best practices, sharing shared issues, sharing shared interests in policy activities is really the secret sauce of this coalition. Otherwise we would be doing this work in silos. We would not be implementing best practices that are data informed and have already, levels of success, as we've seen from our other members. That was really one of the interests in having this coalition, is that each of the different members could learn from each other, learn from the nuances of their regions, but also how to implement those programs in their own organizations. And so we do that through our advocacy work, which is also related to our communities of practice. We convene college access and promise organizations across California. And we also host workshops specifically for students and help our organizations to share each other's opportunities with students across the coalition, which really optimizes all of the different programs that our members have as well. We don't actually have co-chairs of communities of practice, but I'll open it up. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's one thing that one of our first accomplishments that we were able to make with NCCPC was a COVID-19 relief guide. And I'd love it if Patrice Berry, who's the author of that, might be able to share what that is and the impact that that had as we've shared that as well.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, David. So at the beginning of COVID, just really quickly, hopefully only 30 seconds worth of information for y'all, we created a college student resource guide as college students began reaching out to us, asking us for help getting home, covering the cost of travel, storage, you name it, food. We started to aggregate a lot of information from the dozens of resources that we saw were available to students, but were really difficult for students to reach. And what that turned into is a pretty massive Google Doc that is organized and easy for students to scan and add and access resources. And it eventually even led into sort of a tech platform that we're using to help connect college students and their students, college students and families to resources throughout the region.
Thank you, Patrice.
Thank you, Patrice, and thank you for that, David. Okay, folks, so this gets us to really, so we just shared with you what are our achievements to date, what have we been working on, and this really gets us to what we're hoping for the future. So earlier we shared these goals for scaling and deepening our impact with the mayors. I'll recap them for this group. We want to set ourselves to be able to serve 100,000 students across our counties and deepen our work in our cities by 2023. We can do that by building our infrastructure in 2021. Our plan is to increase the number of college students supported by our campus partnerships by increasing those partnerships from 2 to 10. Again, we've already started conversations with several UCs, and we look forward to starting them with community colleges and HBCUs as well. We'll improve our students' college completion and workforce outcomes by partnering with more employers, providing more events and opportunities for exploration and connection with employers who are going to give our students internships and jobs targeted to them. And we want to make sure that we continue to create convenings like this, both for mayors, for state leaders, for policymakers, for our college access and program organizations, and also, of course, for our students. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to David just to lead us into the next piece of how we can ensure that you all get engaged.
Great. I think what we'd love to do is we wanted to open it up for the funding community, especially to be able to share any reactions or feedback. We'd love to hear when you hear this, what are some thoughts or reflections that you have? Would you like to get involved? And if so, maybe how? We have already outlined before some of the gaps that we have, the immediate $100,000 gap for 21-22, and then the long-term gap, the $600K gap that we have through 2024. Would love to just hear if anyone has any questions for us, any thoughts, any reflections from the funding community. I was a teacher, so I can like have a pause and wait for a while.
And for those who are savvy and using a raise hand feature, I am listening for that, but also please feel free to unmute yourself.
All right, well then, if no one's going to say anything, then I always just do what I like to do best is go to Martha Cantor. So Martha, is there anything you want to share in terms of how you're feeling about this movement or being a part of this?
Well, I'd just like to first of all thank the mayors and the funders for supporting MER and the team. And I have had several times that Mayor Butt, for example, we've met, and the Richmond Promise has just been a great leader in the Promise movement nationally. And want to thank Libby Schaaf, Mayor Schaaf, for everything she's done. I think my request is, if there are funders on this line that can work together, and I think, MER had the word partnerships on there, but to me, $100,000 is a lift that people, in this network can support. I think the bigger lift is moving the consortium forward and seeing the values that can come out of giving students the internships critical. We're seeing policy, not only I'm here in Washington, D.C., eye of the storm, but a lot of interest in some kind of a federal state partnership. And you'll see us at, in collegepromise.org putting out an implementation plan for people to chew on to say if the federal government could come in and support what is happening locally, all to the better. We have 50 states, we have 31 states that have put in some kind of a promise. It's not enough, and they're all different. But how can they be used? How can that be leveraged so that the local programs can use those dollars to increase student supports that are so desperately needed in the COVID-19 recovery? And I can't say enough about just one piece. I just got off the phone with the Asset Funders Network that was talking about, well, how do we leverage the need to get more students to, through, and beyond post-secondary education? And I said, do you know that for the next 5 years, the tax credit for corporate employees, for corporations, is going to give every individual who's working a $5,500 account, and the companies can write that off. Who knows that? I know I met with human resources directors. They didn't know that this now is an opportunity for students in the pipeline that you all are dealing with in NCCPC to actually reduce debt if they have debt. And if they're working, use that credit, talk to their employer, get it in place, because the bottom line, it's going to zero out for these employers. So, I talk about this because these are the systemic things that need to happen to allow more students to get the knowledge and skills they need. That example is just one of many. Using the Pell Grant, for example, and not wasting the Pell Grant is something that, all the institutions need to rally around, because students take 20% more courses than they need. So that's why this pathways work that's so eminent in the NorCal colleges and universities, get these pathways streamlined, and that happens through the partnerships. So, and I think, you can definitely help with the policy at that level, but just want to thank Mayor Schaaf for bringing the network together, because I think this network is going to bring people to the table, the funders who actually have dollars to invest. What better investment than in the partnership across business, education, government, and philanthropy to get people in our colleges and universities and K-12 schools working together in a much more effective way than we ever have. And God knows the need is just exponential. So let me stop there and just, we want to be a resource to you. We've worked with you for a long time. I think every one of the Promise programs that is involved has value add in terms of high impact practices that are working, relationships that can be managed. And we'd like philanthropy to step up to the table and help with the systems design, so that there can be the investments in NorCal. You could maybe lead the way for Middle Cal and Southern Cal to come into those consortia. But I just want to thank everybody for having me. And we're here. We're easy to find. We're at collegepromise.org, and we profile all of your programs and would love to profile what NCCPC is doing. I mean, I think that's a next step that we could offer.
Thank you, Martha. And for those of you who don't, Martha has done incredible work, not only in California, but at the federal level. She might be one of our tickets into also connecting in with Jill Biden as we go forward to be able to partner, as we've done that in the past. And we're looking forward to partnering with you going forward. Other funders or people that have questions or just thoughts or reflections? The mayors talked a lot, and they also made all these commitments and all this stuff. You don't have to make a commitment, but we'd love to at least hear you a little bit.
Hey, can I ask a question to Lorna and I didn't know if we had someone from Salesforce on, but obviously you have a huge interest in internships. I mean, the Promise participants are your future workforce. But I'm curious also, how does your company feel about engaging in some of the advocacy work Martha just referenced? We have this amazing window right now where our First Lady is like a lifetime champion of, the whole college promise philosophy. And then also, I know in Oakland, we've gotten companies to not just look at internships, but to also recruit mentors from their workforce. And I know myself that it was my folly to be a mentor a long time ago when I was a corporate lawyer which literally led me to being the mayor. So I know how like personally satisfying mentoring can be. So I'm just curious from the company point of view, what are some of the activities of this coalition beyond the workforce activities that you think you could get involved in, or other of your colleagues would want to get involved in?
Thank you, Mayor Schaaf. Excellent question, big question. And Alex, please feel free to step in here as well, as Alex is with Government Affairs. But from an equality and belonging standpoint, which is the department that I work in and the function within Gap Inc., we evolved from a team of 3 to a team of 20 over the last year. And we made a strong commitment to putting action, and more than just driving funds, really getting involved at the community level in several ways. And so out of equality and belonging, our third pillar, community belonging, which is where Arish and I sit, one of our 3 initiatives is to start activating and becoming a multiplier for good within the community. And that may mean advocacy. And I think we're going to start to explore what it means to represent ourselves. And Sonia Singhal, our CEO, is actively getting herself involved at the White House. Alex, anything you want to say? Sorry to put you on the spot here.
No, absolutely. Hi, Mayor. Good to see you again. And, as a former community college trustee myself, and I see my successor, Alia Christie here from San Francisco, this issue is very important to me. I understand what it is as a former community college student myself, the importance of access to education, and GAP is really focused on this. It's very interested in, and as Lorna said, from the top level at our CEO down, we are really engaged in this because we see this as an opportunity to really provide economic opportunity. 76% of GAP employees are women. A lot of our employees have the first job at Gap at one of our stores. So this is the perfect demographic to really help recovery, because COVID really has impacted women and girls specifically dramatically. And partnerships like this will allow us to really help mitigate some of the impact that COVID has had on our most vulnerable communities. So we're really excited to be here and partner with all of you, and seeing so many of our neighbor mayors here from the Bay Area, and where we have employees and where we have stores, and where we're helping with the recovery. So anything that we can do, and if you have ideas on how we can be supportive in the advocacy realm, in Sacramento and DC, that's where our team can really be engaged in. And as Lorna said, 37,000 of our employees are mentors and are giving back to their communities where they live and work every single year. So there's definitely a huge group of mentors and ambassadors that we can plug into to help as well.
I also want to emphasize that the work isn't just where there is talent now, so talent that you can activate immediately. We recognize that there's an early exposure piece as well. So a lot of our work is actually also going to begin way back in that early career access exposure intersection of developing our youth. So as an equality and belonging team, we've recognized there's the access, there's the outreach, and then there's also talent now. So there's different bridges along the way that we need to come together in order to actually create those pipelines. And that's what really excited me, coming from the nonprofit space, to be able to activate a corporation like Gap Inc. in that way.
Hi, this is Rodney. I'd like to introduce myself briefly. Fortunate to have joined. So the organization that I represent, we are the career services platform for the top MBA schools in the United States: Stanford, Harvard, UC Berkeley. It goes on and on. Half of all law schools. So when I think about this conversation, and by the way, Libby Schaaf, yay, I live on Lake Merritt, and I've lived in Oakland for 20 years, way before it was cool to live in Oakland, and Meredith is my sister, so that's why we have the same name. But when I think about this conversation, I am talking so today I talked to eBay, the head of global early talent hiring. Tuesday, I'll have a 5th meeting with Google, the head of all their MBA programs. And our company, I report to our CEO and founder, we did a study just weeks ago that looked at MBA students at the top 100 MBA schools in America. There are literally 1,317 Black people. It's ridiculous, ridiculous. It's 5% of the population total addressable market, whereas Black people, for instance, make up 12% of the US population. So there's this huge gap, and what I'm having conversations around with these all Fortune 2000 companies, what can we do? Because there's a gap in the whole funnel. The whole funnel is broken. And we're all like the Fortune 2000 companies, if they could all equally share in a black person that graduated with an MBA, they would get 0.3 of a person. Like, that's unreal and it's unsustainable. So I'll mute myself, but what I'm looking to try to help with is I have these inroads with these major companies and like Lorna at Gap and so on, bringing people to the table. I want to look at that in the near and midterm. I'll work with Meredith, but thanks for the time. I'm excited about this.
I'm excited that you're excited. And we cannot have equity and inclusion if we don't change educational outcomes. One is not possible without the other. So thank you for recognizing that. I know that this is our time to kind of wrap up. I hope everyone got really excited. I know I did, about the possibility of this coalition, the power that we have when we come together, and all the areas where it makes sense for us to collaborate, the areas of practice, the bringing in of resources, the lobbying muscle, the workforce development coordination. These are all very exciting places. Tony Eidens heard me say this a million times, but the only way we are going to change the world is through public-private partnerships. We all know that we cannot charity our way out of these problems, that while we love philanthropy, it is not a sustainable solution to what is so systemic, a problem of inequity. But when philanthropy makes this most incredibly leveraged investment in actually changing the public system, moving the trillions of dollars in public resources, in how they're spent and how our policies touch every single life in the jurisdictions that we live in, do business in, and raise our children in. That is when we can leverage the most amazing investments and make the most transformational changes. Government does not always move quickly, and that is why external pressure from the philanthropic community, the private sector, is the secret sauce. It is what is going to move this work faster and better and farther. And that is what we need to do, particularly in this moment. So I just encourage all the mayors to think about the leverage that your steering committee membership cost can buy. I encourage all the mayors to talk to private funders and talk to the funders of your promised programs to talk about how that investment could be leveraged by adding a contribution to this coalition, because we are going to get some amazing things done together. And then again, to our philanthropic and corporate partners, continue to think about how these partnerships are really going to get us to this place that I can see we all want to get to. So please continue to give us feedback. Please fill out your exit form. I know I already did. I was cheating. I was doing it while I was listening. But this is a conversation that must keep going. But it is when we come together, share our ideas, and also think about how the investments that are being made are leveraged for permanent policy and systems change. That is when we are going to get some shit done. I'm sorry, I just said it. I know it's being recorded, but like, that is the type of sense of urgency and just scrappiness that we have got to apply to this problem that is vexing, that is depriving all of us of the true beauty and talent of our children and of our full communities. So that is really, really what I am so honored that you all came together to do today. I thank you. And I turn it over to David or Meredith for our final closing thoughts. Thank you.
I don't think we can close better than you, Mayor, but I think we have our marching orders, whether it's our exit ticket, whether it's us all working together towards equity, whether it's philanthropic partners thinking about investing, the mayors who have already committed to do that. All of these are here. You could also be a part of our advisory council if you want to lend your name to that. If you're an investor or a mayor and you would like to do that, or a champion to champion what we're doing on the policy end. And I guess just in closure, we would just want to say a huge thank you to the steering committee members who have been a part of this since the beginning. They're the ones that have been here. Thank you to the Founders Circle. We have all the different people, Oakland Promise, the Stockton Scholars, the City of Oakland, all the people on the screen. I also want to just say a huge thank you to Mayor for her leadership to make this happen. Mayor, anything you want to say to close us out?
Just like you, couldn't say it any better than Mayor Schaaf. I'm so appreciative of all the mayors who are able to join us today. Thank you to the foundations and businesses that were able to join us today, the California Endowment, Tipping Point, Warriors Foundation, Gap Inc., 1220. We have Room to Breathe Project and College Futures Foundation here. And again, just thank you, because the work that the coalition is doing would not be possible if it weren't for our members, including our steering committee members, our champions, as well as our advocates. So you have the exit ticket in the chat. We'll make sure to send you the exit ticket as well as a copy of the video of the recording. This is a picture from when our steering committee celebrated some wins in politics last fall, and we're just really appreciative that you spent this time to get to know us, our individual organizations, these individual leaders, and this full coalition. Thank you, Mayor Libby Schaaf, for your vision to host it. Thank you again to our co-hosts. Thank you to David for steering the committee along. And again, thank you to everybody. We hope you have a great day. I'll keep this open, though, in case anyone wants to say one more final word before we close out. But for those who have to go, thank you so much. It's been so great.
You rock, Mayor.
Great work.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great weekend. Stay tuned for the recording.